2021. We do have a quorum, so I hereby call this public hearing for your Committee on Natural Resources to order. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize the members of the committee, and I will start with myself. My name is Sheila Babalta. I'm the chairwoman of this committee. To my right is Rep. Danita Yangtamai of Precinct 3. She is our vice chairwoman. We have Rep. Bazama from Precinct 5 and Rep. Patrick Nicholas from Tinian. Angel Damapon is also a member of this committee, but he is excused for today's public hearing. Today's agenda was issued on April 28 and was shared with the respective departments on Rota. If there are no objections, can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda? There's been a motion, and it has been seconded. Those in favor of adopting today's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The agenda has been adopted. In addition to the members here, we also have our LB staff assisting with the public hearing. We have our legal counsel, Mr. Joe Tyron, our legal assistant, legislative assistant, Giovanni Taitano, our sergeant at arms, Mr. Ben Jalahi, and Pete Tawai, and Cam Nicholas is also here assisting. Thank you so much. And Claire Sablon for being here. Before we move on to the bills that we have in our committee, I just wanted to state for the record that we found it was very important to have a public hearing here on Rota because we do recognize how Rota prioritizes their natural resources. And so the 5 bills that are currently in our committee are going to impact the entire Sinamay. The Committee on Natural Resources recognizes the significant contribution of our natural resources to our economy, recreational activity, preservation of our culture and community, and we believe that responsible management of our natural resources is essential to improving our quality of life in the Commonwealth and ensuring future generations have access to these resources so that they can enjoy it as well. It is the duty and mission of this committee to consider and report on all bills, resolutions, and other matters referred to it by the House pertaining to the state of natural resources in the Commonwealth. We will review and recommend policies that preserve biodiversity, support ecological balance, and encourage sustainable management of our resources. We understand this entails managing competing demands and multiple resources, as well as providing environmental protections. But we are really committed to working closely with all governmental agencies, nonprofits, our community, and stakeholders to respond to new developments and concerns, identify good practices, and also just seek solutions. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for being with us here today.
Thank you.
And with that, we will move into the public comment period. For the record, the 5 bills in our committee really try to address the intent of these bills, try to address issues that have been brought to our attention by numerous stakeholders in our community, including business partners. If you'd like, I can go through each bill one by one and open the floor. But at this time, I will go ahead and just turn it over to you, Mr. Mayor. Please just state your name for the record and introduce your team. Thank you.
So do you want us to comment on each bill?
Have you prepared
Yes.
a statement for each bill?
Yeah, short statements.
For each bill?
Yes.
Okay, so let's
I think
begin.
you forwarded to your office, I believe. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
So let us begin
All right. So
one at a time.
yeah, to my left here is the resident director of the Department of Commerce, Mr. Dean Malloy. And my name, of course, is Edward Natalik, the mayor of Rota. So what I have prepared here in front of me is House Bill 2231. And allow me to read it out loud for the benefit of the other
Okay, thank you. And before you proceed, just for the viewing public, House Bill 22-31 is to authorize the Department of Public Lands to issue licenses and use permits
Right, correct.
and charge fees for the use of public lands located within 150 feet of the high water mark.
Yeah, I must say though that I'm very, very happy that, this bill is before us because of it's a revenue generating bill, and I thank you for that. So, the CNMI is in a dire financial strait, and we need to use our resources to increase government revenue. As our people need a myriad of services, the above reference bill is in the right direction toward that end. Thus, 1 CMC Section 280E needs to be amended so that the Department of Public Lands would be able to charge the usage of the high water mark. I am sure that many individuals and entities would take advantage of this authorization, especially those engaged in tourism-related activities. While I strongly support passage of this bill, there may be a need to examine the authority of the Army Corps of Engineers with respect to the uses of the high water mark. We would not want to create a conflict with this with the federal agency. So, Madam Chair, I am in support of this bill. Thank you for this bill before us.
Thank you for your comment. You may proceed.
All right, reference House Bill 2222, 22-22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the viewing public's information, House Bill 22-22 is to establish laws to regulate bioprospecting activities within the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands in order to ensure prior informed consent and equitable sharing of benefits.
Yes, thank you for that. And again, I'm very happy with this bill. It's revenue generating, and it's so good for the CNMI. With the ever-evolving advancement in technology, harnessing of bioprospecting is not a science fiction, but a great potential, especially those having medicinal properties. Thus, we in CNMI need to create the atmosphere and encourage the scientific community to establish operation in our islands. Bioprospecting may be likened to cybernetics, which deals with information processing, which makes it possible for billions of people to be able to access information in microseconds. More importantly, the economic effect of cybernetics is global. Bioprospecting may have the same effect. I recommend the passage of this bill. Madam Chair, again, this is a very good bill for the people of the CNMI, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Reference House Bill 22-32, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
22-32.
Thank you. For the viewing public's information, House Bill 22-32 is to amend the Litter Control Act to prohibit the possession of glass containers while on public beaches and for other purposes. You may proceed, Mr. Mayor.
I support in part the prohibition of bringing glass containers to the beaches because such objects, if broken, can be very sharp and may injure someone walking or even laying down on the beach. Further, having these objects laying around on the beaches shows that our people are not environmentally conscious when we to our islands building. While I recommend passage of this bill, I recommend insert a section to allow 4 trash bins to be placed at parks, tourism sites, 1 for cans, for example, 1 bottle, 1 plastic, and 1 regular trash. House Bill 22-43.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. House Bill 22-43 for for the viewing public's information is to create an anti-littering incentive program by providing a reward for persons reporting violations of the Litter Control Act.
Yes, thank you again. This bill is very good for the people. It helps the community clean up our islands. Thank you for this bill again. As mentioned in Section 2 under finding, controlling litter is an incessant problem in the CNY that many people are disgusted, especially those tasked with the environment of the Litter Control Act. Thus, we need to emulate the efforts of the Singapore government in enacting a Herculean laws which deputize the janitors as enforcers. Repeat offenders may be subject to caning. While setting up a reward system for the reporting of violations may help, but as pointed out in Section 2, those who don't care would continue to litter if no one is around. Thus, we need to strengthen our enforcement capability. Reference House Bill 22-44.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your comments. House Bill 22-44 to conserve, protect, and enhance the Sinamai's native plants and trees for generations to come. You may proceed again.
Our people need to value the protection of our forests, especially those that are endemic to our islands, plants that are only found in the CNMI. Many individuals, hunters in particular, set grasslands on fire in order to attract deer when new shoots emerge. Undoubtedly, there is a short-term gain when people catch wildlife, but the effect of grass fire is long-term. Thus, it is extremely difficult to gain the cooperation of the public. Again, we may need to establish a reward system in which those who report violators will reward. It is quite obvious that plants and animals are negatively impacted by grass and forest fires. Madam Chair, thank you for allowing me to comment on these bills.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, the floor is open for questions. If you have questions for the mayor regarding any 5 of the bills. None? Mr. Mayor, I do have a question in regards to the anti-littering comment that you made supporting the bill. Is that a problem that you see here in Rota? Illegal dumping?
We have reduced the violation or people throwing their trash, but yes, there's still. And that's why I recommend that we continue and perhaps increase the enforcement of littering. And I appreciate this bill. It helps us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And can you just expand on the current situation in regards to your landfill and properly disposing of trash? Are there any barriers? On Saipan, for example, Marpi is really far for many of our community members, and so that has always been a reason that they illegally dump in other villages. Is that something that the community on Rota experiences?
I have not heard of any of that situation, but like I said, we still experience some people throwing trash at parks, and that's why enforcement is very important. But as far as solid waste, we have started the process of building a solid waste plant here. As a matter of fact, the team of geotesting was just here this week to start the process of improving the landfill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, if no one, I recognize Rep. Mazan.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
For supporting the one of the bill here as far as the leadership.
Sure, I support all of them.
And if you see in Saipan, the mayor has a collection or trailer run just about every day. And I wonder if you do have that program here?
No, but we have, our people here would have their own trailer to bring to the dump site.
Okay, so there's no run that's...
There's no government operation like that.
Well, eventually, I mean, apparently your community are disciplined because I have traveled around Rota and it's the cleanest little town. And, you know,
Yes, they
I'm
are.
I'm so impressed because Kakman is a problem where I came from.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that you are, no need of enforcement, but it's just a discipline. You know?
Yeah, you're right. We up the education part of it.
Thank you, and that's very good.
From elementary on up.
Good, thank you. And that's all I got, thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Zama. I now recognize Rep. Yanktamai.
Yes, these bills are all good, but I think it needs some fixing, like the 22-43. We need to, it says that it needs incentive for people, incentive for those who are reporting others in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to come up with where we can get, if it's going to be money, where would this money come from? It's compensation, And this other one, the 22-32, again, this is really good. But like you said, we need like enforcement officers going around the picnickers to check if they bring in bottles, glass bottles, whatever. So maybe what we can do is come up with a recycling plan, for people to take the glasses there, to prompt them to take these glasses to the recycling plant, and maybe we can subsidize that recycling plan with 5 cents a bottle. People will pick them up instead of just leaving them lying about, no?
Yes, you're right. And perhaps maybe we can fund it through the solid waste.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Yanktamai. Mr. Mayor, I believe that's all the questions the members have for
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
comments.
I'm so happy, really, I'm so happy for this opportunity and so happy to see you guys here in Rota. It feels awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mangonia?
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
For the record, my name is Dean Reno Mangonia. I am the resident department head for the Department of Commerce. And I did receive the email and I have prepared some written comments in regards to the bill being introduced to this committee. Again,
Perfect. Thank you.
yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Okay, as you may know, I'm a little biased when it comes to this because my main interest is economics behind it. So, on behalf of the Department of Commerce, Rota, in reference to House Bill 22-31, which authorizes the Department of Public Lands to issue licenses and use permits to charge fees for the use of public lands located within the 150 feet of the high water mark. Now, the Department of Public Lands are the trustees of our public lands, and by allowing them the statutory authority to grant non-exclusive licenses and permits will result in new investment opportunities for businesses looking to invest in the CNMI. So I support this bill 100%. In reference to House Bill 22-32, the Department of Commerce and Rota believe that it has a lot of merits. However, just so the public knows, I think we should read this so they know what we're referring to. House Bill 22-32 to amend the Liquor Control Act to prohibit the possession of glass containers while in public beaches and for other purposes. It has a lot of great merits. However, we believe that many small businesses across the United States sell their products exclusively in glass containers. Therefore, prohibiting its use will undoubtedly have a negative impact on their sales and give its competitors a competitive advantage. Also, prohibiting the use of glass containers may negatively impact tourism, as tourists are often accustomed to consuming certain products that are sold only in glass containers. Furthermore, in terms of the environment, discarded glass causes much less of an impact on the world's oceans when compared to plastic, which may linger in our oceans for generations to come. So by prohibiting glass products used in our beaches, we're actually promoting the use of plastics. So inadvertently, there's a negative effect to it. So because of this, I do not support House Bill 22-32. In reference to House Bill 22-43 to create an anti-littering incentive program to provide a reward for persons reporting violations of the Litter Control Act and for other purposes. Now, because our public parks are open to tourists and the community alike, litter found in these locations can quickly damage our reputation for cleanliness and impact the travel experience for tourists. Therefore, implementing an anti-littering incentive program will help the people of the Marianas become more vigilant of their environment and be more conscientious of their actions. So I'm in full support of House Bill 22-43. In reference to House Bill 22-44, which is to conserve, protect, and enhance the CNMI's native plants and trees for generations to come and for other purposes. The CNMI is well known for its native plants and trees, which is why thousands of tourists visit the CNMI each year. The protection of these resources is beneficial not only to tourists, but to the local population as well, and for future generations. So, because of that, I am in full support of House Bill 22-44. And the last, which is a landmark piece of legislation, it's pretty good, but it can be improved. So on behalf of the Department of Commerce, I believe that with regards to House Bill 22-22 to establish laws to regulate bioprospecting activities within the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands in order to ensure prior informed consent and equitable sharing of benefits has a lot of merit. However, asserting an economic interest long before a company is even able to establish an economic viability of a certain resource or product may deter investors from wanting to invest. A lack in new investments will result in the slowing down of our local economy. Furthermore, I believe that more specifics is needed to better clarify Section 105, reservation of economic interest in agreement to negotiate in good faith. For the record, I am in support of the bill, but like I said, it can be improved, and there more specifics is needed. Try to avoid being too vague and ambiguous, especially when investors really know how to run the numbers. So if it doesn't benefit them, and there is no win-win relationship in regards to investment, they probably pull out. And we want, especially in these hard economic times, we want to encourage investment, not deter it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mangonia. The floor is now open if any members have any questions for Mr. Mangonia. And Mr. Mangonia, for your information, Rev. Yanktamay does chair the Committee on Commerce and Tourism. So thank you for making time to be here today.
Thank you so much.
Okay, no questions from the members. I do have a question, just because you bring up, the impact that it'll have on the small businesses here on Rota, the type of investors you're looking for. So my question is, how do you gather this information, keep this data available? Do you have a division in your commerce?
Just for more specifics, which bill were you referring to?
This is a general question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just in regards to businesses on Rota and investors, the types of investors.
Oh yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, the way if we reference back to House Bill 22-22 with the bioprospecting, I think some investors might be impacted because, you know, it's a lot of them, when they come in, they you know, the way the bill is written, you have to register with the Department of Lands and Natural Resources. We still have 180 days if the bill is passed to promulgate the rules and regulation. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I would really like to get a early read of that if this committee would allow that. That way we can really look into it. But yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of merit and there's potential in this proposal. But yeah, it might be a deterrent. Because, you know, some companies, especially when you're dealing with bigger numbers, even a small percentage could represent a large amount. So that's why it's important to get the numbers right. They can make an estimate, and then there has to be a win-win. If they're giving something, what are we giving in return? So it has to be, that relationship has to always coincide. In terms of how this law might impact small businesses, yeah, a lot of our small stores do sell glass products that come in glass containers. So we really, it's expensive. Glass is heavy, you know, and it actually costs them a lot of money to bring it here, and it would be a shame to have a reduction in sales simply because it's procured in our local beaches. And like I said, with the tourists, you know, some tourists are accustomed to consuming certain products. You know, if you have your wedding anniversary and your wine comes in a glass bottle, well, you can't bring it to the beach because it's made of glass. You know, it kind of takes away those freedoms that we're accustomed to having. And if it is a safety issue, then, you know, maybe the perpetrators can be given a fine. But to take away that freedom it's really hard on the community, I think, at this time, especially when everyone's coping, you know, with the recovery.
Thank you, Mr. Mangonia. Is there a way that you poll your list of small businesses here? Do you have an email listing, or how do you communicate with the small businesses on Rota?
It really depends if you're talking about like that. Alcohol and tobacco licensing, if you're talking about retail businesses or hotels, which is there's not a lot of them. Yeah, but yeah, we have resources and ways to communicate with them, and specifically targeting specific businesses. You know, if we need to send out a specific communication that's impacting only them. So I mean, if like the restaurant revitalization fund only applies to restaurants, so we wouldn't want to be sending that information out to retail stores. You know, try to eliminate the confusion. But yeah, we do have a process if you do.
Okay, great. I think that because natural resources and commerce, some of our bills intersect,
Yeah.
it's good to know that we can contact you as a
Yes,
resource
yes.
to share information with the small businesses, small, medium, and large businesses.
Yes, my office is always open. And I really enjoy reading the bills, you know, so we had a good discussion with the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mangonia. I'd like to recognize our legal counsel.
Small question.
Yes, yes.
Your point about the wine bottles,
Uh-huh.
what if the bill would prohibit and ban only small bottles, like where the quantity of the liquid is a small bottle that would, you know, come in a 6-pack or a 12-pack or even a case, but that prohibition wouldn't apply to larger bottles like a wine bottle?
Mm-hmm. I think I mean, it really depends. We could send out a survey, you know, what people think, hold public hearings and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it really depends on habit. So how are our consumers consuming these products? I mean, I haven't seen a glass bottle that are sold. Maybe, yeah, but those vitamin bottles, yeah. But
Because I can see your point. If someone's bringing a wine bottle, they'll probably be bringing at the most 3 wine bottles, right?
Yeah.
But if they're bringing a beer bottle, they'll be bringing up to 24 bottles, maybe more, right? So if we ban small bottles, but permitted larger bottles, we may be able to not put a damper on the wine behavior or even big beer bottles, but prohibit the frequency, you know, the quantity by banning the small bottles.
Oh yeah, you minimize the impact on the environment by just banning a certain patch. So we fall into that whole TSA, the 3.4 ounces.
Something like
where
that.
we get really technical to a point, and then, you know, the enforcers, they're gonna look out for those small bottles. And I'm actually in favor of I'm sorry, Representative Detina. Denita, my eyes are Yang Timan. So I'm actually in favor of your proposal where you put, in California they do have a CRV program, cash redemption value. So for every bottle that gets put into the program, they actually give them cash. So now we give those disposable waste cash value. So then people will be more open to recycling.
Yes, that's happening
Yeah.
and
Yes.
the place is really clean because people are just picking up plastic bottles and all those things
Plastic.
for recycling,
Yeah.
so they can get the money.
Definitely. That's a money-making opportunity for the locals, and then it helps clean our environment, keep it clean. So,
Thank you, Mr. Manglonia, and thank you, legal counsel. Just for the record, currently on House Bill 22-43, the definition of glass container shall mean any container, receptacle, bottle, cup, drinking vessel, utensil, dish, or similar object made entirely or partially of glass. So I appreciate the discussion on that matter. Thank you, Mr. Manglonia. Members, anyone else have any questions for Mr. Manglonia? Mr. Manglonia, thank you very much for making time.
I'm sorry.
yes.
This deals with commerce.
Yes.
How come the businesses here close at 8?
Okay, so that was actually brought up. So the businesses actually got together, and it appears that it's more cost effective for them to close early. They save on utilities and the cost of labor. So it's not something that we forced upon them. It's not miscommunication. It's something that a decision that they made on their own. So which is allowed. I mean, it's not really.
This question is coming from a tourist.
Oh, yeah. I really wish they did it because after.
We need more beer and.
Yeah. They run early. Yeah. But I appreciate the question, and that's why. So it's just a decision that was made on the business side.
Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize Representative.
Thank you, Chairwoman. That was a good question. So, in other words, the business association, this entire business in Rota, got together and they made a plan that they will all close at 8. Is that how it works?
Pretty much. That's pretty
very
much how
good.
it is. Yeah. So that's
Meaning
they're
nobody's
organized.
cheating.
Yeah. And
Nobody's
then-
cheating. Everybody's gonna open up the store up to 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
and everybody close at 8.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, they do have that control factor. I mean, if they want to start closing at 1 p.m., they can do it. There's nothing illegal about it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you,
I just
Mr.
wanna clarify
Manglonia.
that.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Representative. Okay, thank you for making time to comment today and share your thoughts. It really does provide value to the committee to help us better understand the needs and the issues that the business community faces here on Rota and how the natural resources intersects with that. So thank you very much for being here, Mr. Manglonia.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you. members.
Now the floor is open for public comments from any member of the community. Okay, if there are none, we will move on with the agenda to announcements. Members, anybody have any announcements? Okay, so we have a public hearing on Tinian on Tuesday, May 11. We have contacted the respective departments. They are informed. And if we hear back on any confirmed attendees, I will send that out to the committee. Okay, if there are no further announcements, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn, Madam Chair.
There's been a motion to adjourn. It has been seconded. All those in favor, please. Discussion on the motion? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. This public hearing is adjourned.